YouTube. Sorry, it's been it's been longer than I expected. Had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and it just took me some time to get back to this. It's on my mind every day, and I apologize for how long it's taken me to get back. The videos have done a little bit better. Still have not been able to get in touch with Eric West, but that's fine. The purpose of these videos is to just help the people of Maui. Also, I don't have the mic on. I noticed, I just purchased them. I noticed that, during the last video, it started to get a little scratchy sometimes during it, but mainly towards the end. I don't know why. I'm kind of new to this sort of thing, so I decided not to use the mics. Hopefully this, you can still hear me and everything else. So I'm just gonna get right back into it. Bear with me a second to find out where I was. Actually, I'm gonna pull out a pen so I can kind of check off where I've been. We were talking about why the water wasn't available, why the police chief was the coroner, oil spill, fire origin, has it been inspected? Why is the police chief getting so much money? Emergency manager stepped down. Okay, so this one is this one was how is the mayor going to fill the role of the emergency manager? We kind of touched on that on the last video. And I also had I put something on here for weather manipulation. I don't know whether that's a real thing. Well, actually, I do know it's a real thing because I've watched videos on this like very famous scientist that has said that weather manipulation is something that's been going on for many years now, and kind of blew my mind. Like weather manipulation. Like, okay, everybody knows that in this administration right now, it's huge about climate change and everything else. It's hard to know who to believe, regardless of what party you're for. Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever it is. If climate change is a real thing, then obviously all of us should care about it. But if it isn't, and there are these specific people, pushing their agendas, that's horrible to me. And if the government can change weather and they do it, that's horrible to me, unless it's going to be for the common good. But every action can have a reverse action or reaction. What does that mean? So like if you're trying to generate weather for California, where all these people are that are rich and everything else and so on and so forth, and give them more rain and blah, blah, blah. Well, what's the adverse reaction to that? Or if you take all the water away from Maui, a place it's an island in the middle of nowhere, the Pacific Ocean, and all of a sudden you want to just help all these rich people in California have water, right? Because the place is dry and so on and so forth. And you take and strip all the water from Maui. What do you think is going to happen to Maui? I mean, when I was there, you can look back here. These are real pictures. That's a real picture. Maui was like very tropical. This was 2013. Beautiful. You could look up the mountainside. Everything else was beautiful. Now you look at the same place, it's just all dry. It's just all yellow. The tropical look and everything, gone. Why? Because these people purchased the water of Maui that rains more than even, Seattle, Washington, right? constantly rains there. Places like Ireland that are fully green because it always rains there. Maui rains more than any place on earth. And because these rich entities and people want to, go after a natural resource and purchase that to fill in for places that they care about, who suffers? Maui. They're just indigenous people. Who cares? Who cares about their population and their culture and everything else? This is the last time I'm going to say this. Conspiracy theorist, that term was dubbed by the CIA. And it was dubbed by them to prevent people from asking questions, from having a brain, from knowing what's going on and asking questions. Because if you do ask questions, which we all should, you're a conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're coming up with this conspiracy. No, it's not a conspiracy. If things don't add up, that's it. They don't add up. And you're goddamn right. I'm going to ask questions. And everybody else should. That's the way it is. All these politicians and everybody else, they work for us, not for them. They think they work for them. They think they know what's best for all of us, but they don't. Yeah, they're in the know of everything, and they just look at us as a bunch of little peasants that pay our taxes and everything else, and we don't have to know because they're voted into these positions. But they're voted into these positions to represent us. So if we have questions to ask them, we have every right. They work for us. Do not call me a conspiracy theorist, because I'm not. What I am is an American, a human being. I have a brain. I have knowledge. I know what's going on. And I may not know what's going on in your little world, but I know what's going on, and I can look at things, I can evaluate them, so on and so forth, and decide with intelligence, this is not right, or this is right. But the conspiracy theorist term was put on people to prevent them from talking anymore, prevent them from asking questions. And I'm tired of it. It's, you want to call me a conspiracy theorist? Well, I call you a coward. All I say is you're hiding things. And you want to call me a name so that way I'll shut up, I'll stop. It's never going to happen. Because all the knowledge that I have in the field that I have, your little conspiracy theory name can't shut me up. So do your best. Anyway, weather manipulation is where we were. And they're manipulating the weather. Why? Why would you do that? And if they can do that, which they can, how did that work out in Maui? Did they utilize that? So on and so forth. Are they utilizing that all over the world? It's ridiculous, all these notifications and things that we're getting all the time. Like today I just got one. It's going to be a cyclone where I live. Like seriously? It's never been a cyclone here in my life. But all of a sudden there's going to be. Why? Well, maybe because the weather's being manipulated. Getting back on track with Maui, even though all this totally makes sense with Maui, we're going to go to the next one. This one bothered me more than, so the governor, let's go back. Let's all be conspiracy theorists now, right? Like Pearl Harbor, that day, all the most important carriers and things like that brought out to the sea, a fake, they were practicing for an event like this, so on and so forth, whatever. And then what happens? Japan shows up, bombs Pearl Harbor, kills hundreds, thousands actually of people, on and on and on. Because they're playing war games out in the ocean, right? Preparing for this situation. So looking back at that, the governor, it totally pisses me off that he brings this up all the time. He keeps relating Maui, if you watch his, conferences or whatever, to September 11th. I'm so sick of this guy. I am literally so sick of this guy. Sick of the way when his last meeting with everybody else, oh yeah, what's your next question? Oh yeah, what's your next question? Like he's just so happy and so willing to give, press conferences and everything. Oh yeah, and he has an answer for everything. He's full of horse shit. Somebody is telling him and teaching him what to say. This whole thing with, he signed a month prior to this entire situation, this proclamation where if there's a natural disaster, he takes control of the land. Now, in his most recent press conference, he was asked, would you be willing to get rid of that? No. Immediately, no. And here's why. Because Maui has needed, what the heck did he call it? Like for people that can't afford homes, low-income housing development there. That's the term and the key that he keeps, relying on. Oh, it's all about low-income housing for Maui and so on and so forth. And the woman that just stepped down recently because the MMA fighter that called her out on the carpet, and God bless him for doing it. Now, he didn't ask anybody to terrorize her or anything like that. He stood there just as I would, and he asked her questions. And when she tried to interrupt him or say you only get 3 minutes or whatever, he's like, no, I don't. You work for us. Because she does. And so does the mayor. And so does the governor. And so does the police chief. So does the fire chief. So does the guy that stepped down as emergency manager. They all work for us. That's the point. So when you have a person that has questions, when you work for us, and he said, you wouldn't go to your boss and tell them, this, that, or whatever, would you? And that's what he's saying. He's like, we are your boss. We are your boss. You work for us. We're asking you a question. Give us the answer, period. Stop tippy-toeing around the entire thing. So she stepped down, right? And then the governor, he's bullying her and everything else. That's horse shit. He's not bullying anybody. You were too coward to stay there for that interview. You left, and you left her to answer these questions. Bullying? That makes you a coward. You're a man, right? Aren't you a man? But you can't sit there or stand there and deal with these questions. Why are you holding these interviews in another part of Hawaii, by the way? Why aren't you holding these questions from the people in Maui? Why? Because you're too much of a coward to face these people. Why do you have all these police, right, encircling the island that look like native Hawaiians or look like they belong there? Brown skin, native people, when none of them, or I would say 98% of them, are not from Maui. Why? Because you're trying to keep the peace. But even when Eric West comes up to them and tries to ask them a question about, why can't I take pictures here? Why can't I just stop on the side of the road and whatever? And you have these people just come up to him and, oh, God forbid, his front license plate was missing. Oh, we got to write him up on that. And we're going to make you go to court for this. Make you go. You can't just pay the ticket, right? So all you're doing with all of this is ridiculous, is blocking people out, placing blame on everybody but yourselves, and avoiding anything that makes you look bad. Trying to stay on track here. So much I have, and it just enrages me, this entire thing. The governor needs to be ousted, but he'll never be ousted. I don't know what his term is. I don't know how much time he has left. But if anybody ever votes for this guy again, or anybody like him, you have to be out of your mind. Because he's a bought and paid for politician. And he's trying to destroy Maui. So signing a month prior, this whole proclamation thing, ridiculous. And how I was relating it to Pearl Harbor, or as he likes to continuously bring up, September 11th, all that crap was known about. And in my opinion, all horseshit, including this. So let's just hop on the September 11th bandwagon. He didn't bring up Pearl Harbor or whatever, but that's the point. The point is, it's all bullshit surrounding all of that. All knowledge known to just the government of what's going on. It's ridiculous to me. And who's paying for it? All the people of Maui. 115 people died. That's bullshit. Total bullshit. And they continue to say this, and every day it gets less and less people that are missing. How is that? Why is that? Because it makes it easier for them to just brush it under the table. Oh, it's only 115 people. Only one child died, right? And we're working with the FBI on this. And the FBI, and the police department, they have a list. So for the police department, here's a list of everybody that's called in and reported somebody missing. Well, you can't call in the police department. You can't call in with the FBI if you're dead. If your whole family's dead, there's no call, period. So you know that. So you want to and you've obliterated the entire place. Lahaina is decimated to ash. And you've said yourself, Mr. Governor, that, we have like 50 or so people that we still haven't really actually identified. They're on the list, but DNA and everything else, we haven't actually identified them yet, so on and so forth. What about all the hundreds of people and children that weren't able to make a phone call, or adults, to the FBI or to the police department of Maui? Right? What about them? Who's speaking for them? Well, you know that. You know that they can't. They're dead. It's ridiculous. So your narrative just keeps going down and down and down with how many people passed away in this ridiculous situation. And you know full well. And you know that you have the power of the government behind you. The power of the media to suppress all of this. All the powers to try and squash people like me or anybody that has questions so you can get back to your agenda. This wasn't just, you didn't make this up yourself. You're not smart enough to do that. What happened was big meetings, whoever the people are involved, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And as things change, we're going to adjust accordingly. But regardless, we have the law. We have CIA, the FBI, we can totally keep the people out of what's going on. Keep them dumb. Call them names. You're a conspiracy theorist. No, sir. What I am is an American. And I care about Americans. Maybe you don't. Maybe you care about your agenda. But I care about people. The governor wasn't even on Maui when that incident happened. And why is that? Where was he? Who knows? And in the very beginning of this whole situation, I'd have to go back and find out facts, but I don't think that the emergency manager was on Maui. The governor wasn't on Maui. The police chief wasn't on Maui. I think possibly the only one that was on Maui was the fire chief. But I'm almost positive that's what I know for sure through all of this. And, here's what happens. These YouTube videos come out, and if they have any actual factual stuff, they're squashed, they're blocked, they're shadow banned. So I'm having a hard time finding those to put them together to actually make those statements. But those are questions that should be asked. Where were you, Mr. Governor, when this happened? Where were you, police chief? Where were you, Mr. Emergency Manager? Where were you? It's your job to protect the island and the people. That's what you're being paid for, right? Where were you? Here I have what I must have found somewhere or whatever when I was writing this list, that the governor was in Massachusetts. Could have been the police chief. Not 100% sure. One of them were in Massachusetts when this was happening. We already talked about the situation in Vegas revolving around the police chief that, in my opinion, should be fired. I mean, they never should have hired him. So many police officers hate working for him, have decided to retire early because they hate working for him. People have retired because they hated working for him. Only the people that retired have come out, there's two, to talk anything negative about him because they were afraid to do it while they worked there for fear of backlash. This is just an opinion. This guy is a scumbag. And because I love Maui so much, I hate that he's there. I hate that he even got the job. I hate that he's even in existence. This person has no business being a police chief in Maui. He had no business being a captain in Nevada. He dropped the ball in Nevada. Over 100 people died in Nevada. And you're going to promote this guy from a captain to Maui as a police chief because he did such a great job? Great job, Mr. Police Chief. Hands down to you, buddy. You did a great job. And you've done an even better job in Maui, right? Mr. Coroner, Medical Examiner, Mr. Police Chief that upsets everybody that works under him and so on and so forth, that you got the job, skipping over a rule that you had to live there for a year before you even got the job, that you're making more money than any police chief in the entire 50 states. Yeah, you're a stand-up guy. I can't even stand that you exist. And you should step down because you're in way over your head, because you've destroyed one of the most beautiful places on earth, because you killed people by trapping them on Front Street, because you weren't smart enough to know how to do your job. That's my opinion. If you don't like it, that's not my problem. Have an opinion about me. How many people did I kill? How many cities did I destroy? None. In fact, I did a great job my entire career. Can't say the same for you, buddy. I don't know how you're making the amount of money that you're making, but I think I can figure it out. It's called corruption. That's what it is. So, all of a sudden there was no internet on the entire island. And yeah, power's down. And some of these cell towers rely on power to operate. Get it. But why, when FEMA came and everything else came and so on and so forth, and things like Starlink, a comment came back on my last video. Thank you for that. Knowing that Starlink exists, why didn't the government make that available to everybody on the island, right? Like, just get a bunch of Starlinks on this island or West Maui so that people can communicate, right? Why wouldn't you do that? Why? Because maybe you don't want people communicating. Maybe you don't want it getting out. They're on an island. An island. And all we got to do is shut off all the power, kill all the internet connection, whatever, and do whatever we want. Now we kind of have to worry about cell phones and things like that, but, we can slow it down and minimize the damage, right? Weeks after, still no internet. Eric West is driving around in his pickup truck. He had a Starlink in the back, and he was helping people be able to just communicate with each other, contact their families, say that I'm still alive, say whatever they wanted to say. People that had businesses there and, couldn't do their financial stuff or whatever. All this stuff that, and nowadays you need internet for. Did the government care about that? No, not at all. In fact, Eric West actually brought one of his Starlinks that he was donated to an area of FEMA to help them, if I remember properly. But I'm almost positive that he did. And seriously, the government, with all the money that we have, knowing that this is an asset that we could use No Starlinks. Elon Musk sent Starlinks to Maui. I think over 600 now to help the people. And now they want to investigate him for helping people, right? It's disgusting to me. And there's an agenda. And if you're not part of it, you're in the way, period. Not a conspiracy theorist. You're a bunch of scumbags. That's what it is. And I'm calling you out on the carpet. Cell phones down. Electricity down, right? So now we have people are being prevented from going to ground zero, if you will. Don't like to relate it to September 11th, but it's ground zero. It's not to the scene. That's what I'd like to call it. And then they put up all these black fences, right? Supposedly to help with dust and things like that or whatever that could harm people, and to protect the innocence of people and their families and whatever from prying eyes or whatever. Also, can't fly a drone over it, anything like that. Total horseshit, the entire thing. So I myself looked up these black fences they put up. And again, because I'm not good with, tying in things that I've seen like some of these videos do, and you can see it on the video, what I don't edit the stuff, it's all raw. But you have to trust me when I say, so I looked up these types of fences being used. Again, being a firefighter and so on and so forth. They make these fences that are even way higher, that are clear, that you can see right through. Totally see right through. That are made for all types of things like dusts and chemicals and all this other stuff that could possibly hurt people. I mean, I've seen them 50 feet high. Not in person, but online. I looked them up. You just have to look this stuff up. So why is it that they use black when all of these other events that I looked this stuff up for was to prevent what they're saying, the chemicals, the hazards, and blah, blah, blah. But why did they use black? Why? Because they don't want anybody seeing in there. Why won't they allow people to fly over? Because they don't want anybody to see what they're doing. Why can't you even stop on the side of the road and video? Because they don't want you to see what they're doing. That in itself is horseshit. Horseshit. And I'm so sick and tired of these entities being allowed to do this to prevent the people, right? We're paying for their salaries, all of them. The governor that's making the rules up as he goes, and the police chief and everything else. We're actually paying for all of this. That's where the line should stop. It's ridiculous. Don't tell me what I'm able to see. Don't tell me what I can handle seeing. Don't tell me what I can and can't see. That's ridiculous to me. Especially when we all think that you're involved in this. We think that there's a problem here. Cities don't just burn up for no reason. It's ridiculous. And now you want to prevent us all from seeing what's happening and say, oh, because we're blocking you from chemicals or whatever. I've seen the fences. They're built the exact same way as these black ones. The only difference is they use different material so you can see through it. It would be just like looking straight away like this. But you specifically wanted black screens so you could hide everything. So we can't look straight ahead and see what's going on. And then you want to block us from flying drones over it. God forbid we see what you're doing for transparency, right? What is a drone going to do? Well, probably show us what's really going on there. That's the problem. Because it's certainly not going to harm anything. It's just going to allow people transparency. And you don't want that. That's ridiculous. So sit in your meetings, Mr. Governor, and be like, oh yeah, what's your next question? Oh, what's your next question? Oh yeah, I have a perfect answer for that, whatever. It's horse shit. It's a false fallacy. You're just pretending like everything's okay. And if anybody questions you or questions any of this stuff, as I saw in a video with you again today, oh, I can't believe these people are talking about microwaves or, rays coming from the sky. Like, seriously? Really? That's where we're at in this world today? Yeah, that's where we're at, Mr. Governor. It's exactly where we're at. It's exactly where we're at. Because most people don't know that the weather can be changed by the government. Who allowed that? Who said, hey, that's a good idea? Where was the vote of the people to say this is something we need to do and we should do? Doesn't happen. So don't sit there and say to us, oh, they think this or they think that. Yeah, that's what we think, because we're not dumb. We're not cattle that are just going to follow along. And even when we don't, like people like me, what do? You try and squash us. Conspiracy theorists. Knock us down off YouTube. All this other stuff. Well, why is that? Why is the media not talking about this? Why? Because it's bought and paid for by all of you. Anyway, I think that's where I'll end this video. Last one we just talked about was, the fire scene and everything else. Why are they blocking us from seeing it? Why can't anybody fly drones over, so on and so forth? We know why. Because they don't want to allow it. And this is coming again. I'm not just some random person, right? I have 30 years of experience with this. There's been 0 fires that I've ever gone to that, you cannot fly over with a drone, that you can't go look at it, that we don't allow people to go back to their homes and so on and so forth. This is the only place. And September 11th, and places that are full of corruption. That's where it happens. It doesn't happen in your everyday fires. It happens when they're at risk of being caught and doing shit. Excuse my language. That's the bottom line. So all of this has been critiques, but it's also for questions. It's to help the people ask the right questions and get the right answers. I don't know if there will ever be attorneys that fight for the people. Like if they're going to hire attorneys to investigate all this or what. I just hope that's the case. And the most important thing, and I said it in my last video, that you have to do, especially if they haven't done any investigations of the soils and all of these areas and so on and so forth, is get those tapes. Get those tapes from dispatch. It will tell you the story. Who said what? Who was in charge? What did he say? What did she say? All of it. And if that stuff ends up missing or screwed up in any way, it's just another piece. Because I will tell you this, that does not happen. It does not happen. Never happened where I worked. Never happened in any fire department or police department in the country. So if any of this is contaminated or damaged or lost or, all of a sudden it didn't come through, the fire chief said it himself, all communications were going through regardless of the power down. And that's the same way it would have worked where I worked, because they're on a different system, totally separate. And all that stuff should be available. And that is some of the most important information that you need to have. So again, a lot of stuff to go through, 2 pages, and I have even more since then. And like I said, I apologize for taking a few days. Had some family stuff going on, so I wasn't able to get back here right away. But hopefully I'll be back tomorrow, next day, and so on and so forth, because we have a lot to go over. All the people that liked the videos and watched all the way through, I really appreciate it. This has nothing to do with my channel. I don't care about it. My entire channel has just been about helping people. This is, the more you watch, the longer you watch, the more you like, the more you share, it has a better chance of getting out to more people. And that's what's important to me, because the more people that get involved and the more people that aren't like stymied from the truth, the better chance we have of getting to the truth. And that's all I have. So thank you if you've watched this far. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Now you know why. And see you guys in the next video. Mahalo.